I'm Anne-Marie from Brambleberry.com and SoapQueen.com. Today I'm going to do a bath fizzy project with you. In fact, it's probably one of the cutest bath fizzies you've ever seen. I'm going to show you how to make these amazing donut bath fizzies. How adorable are they? So our donuts are colored pink, and then we use this awesome mica painting techniques to get this decoration. You ready to get started? The two main ingredients in bath fizzies are sodium bicarbonate, or baking soda, and citric acid. When they work together, they are what create the fizz. In this particular recipe, we're also using coconut oil and strawberry fragrance oil because it smells so good. And then also an optional ingredient called Polysorbate 80. Polysorbate 80 helps to emulsify the coconut oil and the fragrance oil with the colorant and the ingredients in here. It's totally optional, it's not necessary, but what it does help prevent, ring around the tub. We've all been there, nobody loves it. So if you want to prevent ring around the tub, use the Polysorbate 80. One thing you'll notice with citric acid and when you're using sodium bicarbonate is that they are a little bit of abrasive. So if you have nail polish on, you're going to want to use gloves for this next step. One of the things that is key to making a great bath fizzy is to use a sieve to get out all of the clumps. You see, clumps in your baking soda or clumps in your citric acid lead to, well, white little clumps or warts in your bath fizzy. And so I've got a nice giant sieve here, and I'm just going to be using it to make sure that there are no clumps in any of my dry ingredients. The ratio for the bath fizzy is 2 parts baking soda to 1 part citric acid. So just go ahead and put that in here. There we go. There's a little bit left, so just push down and get all of that dry powder through the sieve. Great. Once you have all of your dry powder through the sieve, go ahead and weigh out that coconut oil and drop in your fragrance oil and the Polysorbate 80 if you're using it. This recipe uses a lip balm colorant from Brambleberry. And what's a lip balm and why would you use it? So a lip balm colorant is an FD&C color that is specifically mixed with glycerin so it won't set off the fizzing reaction in your fizzy before it's ready to fizz. I'm just going to use 5 drops here. And now comes the fun part. You ready to start mixing? So here we go with the mixing, and I find it best to kind of rub the mixture in between my hands here, and what that helps to do is break up the particles. It's not the coconut oil that's the real problem, it's the lip balm colorant. It's a pretty dense color and it takes a lot of extra mixing. You can use a whisk too, but I generally do the whisk near the end. So just keep breaking it up. You'll notice that the coconut oil is really helping to keep the entire recipe together. The coconut oil really does help as a great binding agent, but it's not going to be enough. So in just a minute, we're going to be using witch hazel to help wet this down. I can already see it's a little bit dry. Keep mixing until this is fully mixed in. Now I'm going to take the whisk and just keep whisking here. Notice that's really helping to mix things up after I've broken up the clumps. And now let's do a check. Do a little squeeze here. So I can see that's a little bit dry. Now, if you live in a really, really dry climate or in a humid climate, you're gonna use different amounts of witch hazel than I'm gonna be using right now in Washington State. So I'm just gonna try about 5 spritzes, mix in, and now I'm gonna try again. I can see it's not sticking together. Do you see that big crack in the middle? That is still a little bit too dry. So I'm gonna try some more witch hazel. And really you wanna have your witch hazel in a spray bottle so you get really great dispersion. And the reason we're not using water is because remember, we don't wanna set off that fizzing reaction. Now see how this mixture holds together as I squeeze it in my hands? This is perfect. Now it's time to start putting our bath fizzy mixture into our molds. So taking this half donut mold from Brambleberry.com, just take some and push it in really firmly. You want these bath fizzies to be really dense, so push it in firmly. Now just scrape off the top because you still need it to have a hole in there like a donut. and move on to the next one. And just keep pushing down, filling each cavity full until the entire mold is full. Use your fingers to wipe away any mixture that's really covered that kind of middle section of the donut. Then let this harden for at least 4 hours, all the way up to overnight in the molds. If you do try to remove the bath fizzies early, they can crack and break, which isn't the worst thing ever, but it's not what we're looking for. Now, I made some of these earlier just so I'd be able to pop them out on camera for you. So let me show you how easy it is to pop these out. Just flip the mold over. Oh, that one already came out. Great. That was perfect. If they're not coming out, push gently down on them to loosen them up. And that one came out perfectly. I noticed the middle two cavities are actually the hardest ones to get out. So I have a little trick for getting those out. So just keep pushing down gently. Now, if you are having trouble getting them out and they're not coming out, you can just loosen them gently with your hand and then tap gently onto the palm and they come right out. It's a thing of beauty. Now, it only really works really well with kind of those middle cavities. I noticed the end cavities come out so easily that you don't want to risk having them crack by doing that. But the middle cavities, for some reason, because of where their design is, they really do have a hard time coming out. So our sparkles are actually created by painting on mica that's been mixed with a little bit of rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol. The great thing about this is the isopropyl alcohol evaporates out, leaving beautiful specks of color. So I'm just going to do a really quick mix here. And you'll notice that this is about 1/8 teaspoon of color to about 1/4 teaspoon of rubbing alcohol. It's just enough to get us the perfect amount of sprinkles without giving us too much color or making the colorant too weak. Now, start painting. Take a very fine paintbrush and dip it slow in. If you get a little bit too much, have a napkin right beside you so you can get a little bit of the excess paint off. Because one of the keys to making this look okay is to do more thin stripes and then just start painting. And I like to do quite a few of the same color. You'll notice I'll do a lot of the same color and then some more of another color. Don't be afraid to switch the directions of the lines. That's definitely one of the areas I tend to get a little stuck in. I like to do the same lines over and over again. Switch the lines so that they're not all kind of going diagonal. Make sure some of them are going horizontal, sideways, ups and downs. And you can clean your brush in between each color. I really like to when you're moving from like very far colors on the color wheel. So clean your brush in between each color. Aren't these so cute? They look adorable. I love how these sparkles are turning out. I'm so happy about these. Allow your bath fizzies to set at least 4 to 8 hours before starting to package them. They are still just a little bit delicate and they're also very thin. So let them really fully harden in a fairly dry area. You don't want a really humid area. And then you can go ahead and package them. All right, you guys ready to see this bath fizzy in action? So obviously this is going to be in a very small container of water compared to a tub. So you're going to see a little bit more pink and a little bit more glitter than if you were in a giant tub, but you'll get the picture. All right, here we go. Wow, that rosy pink La Balm color from Brambleberry gives the best color, and look at that glitter. I am loving it. You guys, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Soap Queen TV. I can't wait to see your creations on the Brambleberry Facebook wall. Until next time, happy soaping! How adorable are they? Love, love. Are they fine? Is that fine?
That's awesome.
That's really good.
I can see you. You're like, oh, she's gonna be so embarrassed when that comes out.